I want to introduce our presenter today. Now, I met Keith a few years ago, and actually I was really impressed the first time I met him. Just like many of the entrepreneurs that come up here, he wears many hats, and he's going to share those with you today. And he definitely has a lot of energy without coffee. So come on up, Keith, and tell us about your Clear Light and the rest of your thing.
Yeah, they asked me to present, and I was like, on which company? Like, let me go look at the list and see what I even own. I can't remember. But today we're going to talk about Clear Light. Has anybody heard of Clear Light before? Yeah. Or called it Cedar Light because you thought that was the name? Yeah, maybe. Not that there's some issues there with branding, but maybe, yeah. So today we're going to talk about Clear Light. And Clear Light is not far, actually. I live right over at Gold and Broadway. So if you look at that big construction area on the corner, 180-room Hilton hotels going there. We like that. So yeah, let's talk about at least this company a little bit. Do I just wave at you when I'm on the next slide?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I have a thingy? Oh, they don't ever trust me with a thingy. Just the arrow, I hope? Oh, praise the Lord. Okay. Whew. All right, so I've always had a hard time figuring out what I am and how to describe what I am. So I think I was on a little bit of an ego trip one day, so I Googled Leonardo, not DiCaprio, Da Vinci, and wanted to see how they described him because he did lots of things too. So I'm reading his Wikipedia page, which is basically the Bible, for all terms, and came up with, they called him a polymath. And I was like, that's great, you can click on the word, it takes you to the definition. A polymath is a person who takes vast knowledge and applies it to a specific problem. And I was like, that's me every day. I'm a problem solver. Boy, do I have vast knowledge because I'm ADD, dyslexic, and a Gemini. So there's lots going on up here. And I just put executive in front of it because I like to make up my own job titles. So that's how I describe myself. I am a serial social entrepreneur. So I own Urban Fresh Cosmetics, Wild West Skincare, Clear Light, Keith Allen West, which is the acting side of what I do. So yeah, there's lots there. But everything I do has some kind of a social impact to it. So like my building over there is 100% solar powered. We have water catchment on the roof. I do a lot of work with climate change. I actually teach Al Gore's classes on climate change. So everything I do has some kind of a social tie-in. Now the reason I do what I do is because I went to school for journalism and marketing and then didn't go work in the field, so I've always just done it for myself. And I got laid off from the corporate world 3 times in 1991. It was a finance company, so they'd sell off the division and then hire me back to another one. And finally I said, beep, this. They said I can't cuss. And then just started my own company. So my very first one was called Canine Confections. It was a gourmet bakery for dogs way back in the day in Evansville, Indiana. So far with Wild West Skincare. So Wild West Skincare, you all probably would call it white label, private label. So I make skincare for 450 different brands around the world. So there's probably lots of stuff that you have in your bathroom at home or you've used that you think is someone else's. It's actually my formula. We just brand it for them. So I do branding work with everybody. I've also done a reality series on, anybody here remember the day of dial-up and AOL? Yeah. So there was a series for 2 years on America Online called The Startup, which was all about entrepreneurs starting businesses. And that's when I lived in New Orleans. So I was on a reality series for 2 years through AOL. My building, because it's historic, has been on HGTV. And has anybody watched my divorce on Bravo? Yes. If you're going to get a divorce, you should do it on reality TV. So if you're curious, it's called Untying the Knot. It's where 2 guys fight over a pig, a building, and a business. I have all 3. All right, so Clear Light. I put a bunch of crap up here just because it makes it look good on there, but that's only if you want to read. I just wanted to give you the rundown. So the really great thing about owning Clear Light is it was actually started the month I was born. So I get to tell everybody, they say, how long have you been doing this? And I say, 1971. Yeah, it's been around a while. So it actually started when actor who did a lot of work in the Westerns, his name was Joshua Pine, got fed up with auditioning and having to get headshots and the rejection that comes with being in the film industry. He got on his Harley Davidson and he left Hollywood and he went up through Seattle, Canada, came back down and ended up in Placitas, New Mexico, where he decided he loved it. So he rented a house and gave up acting. He had then started, he had friends with a lot of the Native American tribes who were talking about the power of New Mexico cedar. So he started harvesting the cedar, and the first thing he made, that stack in front of you there, is the sachets. So the sachets are the first thing he made. So we actually wildcraft the cedar needles, dry them, stuff them. People always apologize to me when I'm at like fairs and stuff, because they're like, I'd like to buy another one, but the other one's still good. It's 20 years. 20 years, it's still good. I'm like, yeah, I know. You just kind of fluff it up and it's good. So that was the first thing he did. So he was packaging the cedar needles. Then in 1984, they began exploring new products. So that's when they created the cedar lotions and all the other potions that go along with it. So that was a brand extension for them. Their biggest year was in the mid-90s. They sold through LL Bean catalog. So they sold, the sachets for everybody to put in their closet with their LL Bean clothing. So that year alone, they did over $1 million in sales just on those little sachet things. Then he passed away in 2006. One of the great things about owning this company now also is almost everybody I bump into has a Joshua Pine story. So he sounds like he was probably just as loud and as inappropriate as me. So I think it's really good. So I get lots of Josh stories. But his sister Penny, who's now in her late 80s, was running it long distance from Chicago. And she got to a point where she was just tired of doing it. So in 2016, she sold the building in Placitas, closed the company. And in typical Albuquerque fashion, I bump into somebody who I'm interviewing to be an accountant. He says, you do skincare. Do you know Clearlight? I'm like, I know Clearlight from when I vacationed here. He says, well, I can connect you. You might be able to buy it and just kind of redo it. So he did. I bought the company for less than the price of a used car. Turned out pretty well. And then I took over. So the neat thing for me is now that I'm bored with skincare and everything else that I've been doing for all these years, I'm now an actor. So it's gone from an actor who was frustrated to an actor who's excited to do it, who now owns the company. So the main thing I had to do was a rebrand because it had a very 1971 feel. So on the left there, that's their Clearlight, the cedar company, and that was their amazing packaging. I'm a very visual person, so that did not work for me. It felt very 70s or 80s. Plus, I didn't like the fact the cedar company, I think, also added to the confusion of Clearlight, Cedar Light. So I got rid of the cedar part, because I also, as you smell today, do other scents like the saffron and cedar. So I've been mixing things up. The new side now is the current brand, and based on what the scent is, so like saffron on here, we put the saffron on the front versus just being all the same cedar needles. So what are we? Well, I sat down and I started doing that branding thing where I brainstorm and come up with stuff. So this is what I came up with. So basically, Clearlight handcrafts skincare, home goods, and culinary essentials inspired by New Mexico's ancient culture and healing connection to nature. Hi, pretty lady. The term Clearlight describes the perfect state of mental bliss and complete happiness. So Joshua also went through a very big Buddhism change and got into reading lots of those texts. So that's where he came up with the term Clearlight. Our store also has a curated collection of other products that celebrate the culture and history of the Southwest. Discover yourself in the enchantment of Clearlight, the New Mexico company. So that's kind of what I came up with. So that's my spiel when people ask me what I do after I usually tell an inappropriate story. So the store, this is its third iteration as a store because it still has some urban, fresh New Mexico, like on the walls and whatever as far as look. And then I've just added to it with some cedar and the pops of color. Gosh, here's one of my problems. Look how empty those shelves are. Yeah, I have a hard time keeping up with orders. But that's the store. So the great thing is it's work-live for me. I get up, I have a pet pig named Priscilla, pig of the desert. I feed her breakfast, I have coffee, and then I go make cedar stuff. So I've been really kind of honing in on combining, it's kind of my style, combining the brand, which is New Mexico, with kind of a modern feel, because I wanted to give it something that was a little more timeless. Plus, another big problem I have with this is I don't know where I want to go with it. This is the first time I've bought a company, so I kind of feel like I adopted an unruly child, and I can't do stuff to it. Because usually I create things from scratch, which means I have complete control. I don't now, so I feel a little powerless. The great news, like I just mentioned, This is what that corner is going to look like, people. That corner right over there, where all that construction is, where they broke my gas line last week and I didn't have hot water for a week, but they paid to have it all redone. Yeah, that's what that corner is going to look like. So it's going to be 180 rooms. Part of it's Homewood Suites, part of it is going to be a Hilton. First 2 floors are parking garage, so there won't be any issues with parking and whatnot. So as of now, we don't get a ton of foot traffic over there wandering by, but we get lots of people that find us, have heard about us, have bought it before, drove all the way to Placitas to realize we weren't there, and then came to shop over here. So I think that's going to help us quite a bit. Let's look at some analytics. Do we like numbers? I love numbers. I have a closet analytical side. I'm an extreme creative, but you give me a spreadsheet, okay? So I just ran numbers for you all from when I first launched the Shopify store back in 2017. So without any advertising, marketing, whatever, just taking the sales list that we already have, we're at 177,000 in sales. So you see about 30,000 comes through the store. Draft orders are usually ones that we send out invoices and then people pay them. Our MailChimp brought in 35,000 of that. We have a 17% customer return rate, but look at the size of that average order. That impresses me, okay? Especially when you're talking about an $18 lotion or $24 for incense or $16 for a sachet. So people buy multiple items, which is nice. And then over there you have product sales by unit. So by far the thing that we sell the most is our incense, which are these little 1-inch cones that you burn. The thing that is the biggest pain in my behind to make in the entire world is, yeah, exactly, the incense, yeah. Luckily my dad makes it for me and he works for a 30-pack of Bud Light. So he's pretty good. And then sales by source, people are finding us mostly directly, so they're coming to us because they've heard of us, know of us, quite a bit through search, unknown, email, and then a little bit in social, but not near as much as I had expected. Social, that's a combination of the Facebook and Instagram. Here's my biggest problem. Let's look at demographics. Do you see what I call the WEX customers? WEX, they're all going to die off at some point. Then what are we going to do once they're all dead? Right? So if you look at my demographics, 40% of the people that buy from me are going to go away. Let's look at the youngsters. Oh, we're at 0.6%, 11%, 13%. Not bad as far as male to female ratio, I thought, for a skincare company. Now, anybody been to Tamaya? Okay, so that's how most people have found us. Tamaya actually burns our incense in the lobby. So I said, why don't you sell it? And they go, no, we'll send them to you. Okay, I'll take the money. So that's where most of them are finding us. Now the really interesting thing too is, out of that 65 plus group, I looked, and I'm going to do a gay exaggeration for you, but my gay exaggeration is we ship to about 80% of the penthouses around Central Park in New York. So these are all the people that have visited here at some point and then went back to New York and miss it, so they order. Now, this is also not a very tech-savvy group, so at least 4 times a day I get the message, hi, it's Gladys from New York, and web, what? Because the company used to send out a monthly printed newsletter with a printed order form on the back that you sent a check-in with. Yeah, I cut that shit out. No. So that's one of my problems. How do I get the youngsters? And we are a certified New Mexico True product. So I've been looking at a lot of what New Mexico does to promote to youngsters to figure out how to bring that in. But there's 2 brands that I really like that I think do it well. So one is called Juniper Ridge. Juniper Ridge, at least from their marketing, I assume it's about 5 guys who are stoned all the time, who were like, dude, we should go camping. Oh my God, we should. And they go camping, and then they harvest like resins off trees and probably some mushrooms. And then they boil it down and they make their essences and whatnot. But they do a really great job with it. They're in Whole Foods, they're in all kinds of fun places. The other one I really like from a lifestyle standpoint is called Bare Bones. And Bare Bones does probably the stuff the guys take camping with them. So they do tents and machetes for your gardening and whatnot. So that's one that I really like too. Plus they had a recipe for a pine needle infused whiskey. So I did a cedar needle infused whiskey. Yeah, girl. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so highly recommend you buy a sachet, throw the needles in with some whiskey, and then ta-da, you're really good. So my questions for you all is, where do we go to grow? What makes sense? What is Clearlight? Because to me, it's a lifestyle brand, so it's not just the things that smell good, look good. I want it to be more of New Mexico. So I kind of feel like it almost needs to be a New Mexico True store by having lots of other things that are also New Mexico. But that gets me into buying wholesale from people, and I hate that. I hate interacting with people. So I'm trying to figure out how to do this in a way that I don't have to talk to folks. Okay? So what do we need to do to reach a younger demographic? And what do you think are some of the good growth strategies for the product mix? Is that a hand? We're that formal? I have Tourette's, so I just scream things out, but go ahead. Oh boy, do I. Repeat the questions? Sure. What do we need to do to reach a younger demographic? Oh, that question. Sorry. Yeah. So he wants to know if I've thought about doing anything with CBD. I actually make, for Clearlight, I call it my triple C. So it's cedar, CoQ10, and CBD. It's an amazing skincare product, and people buy it like crazy. I can't put it on my web store, and I can't put it in my point of sale, because at the moment, I'm using Shopify, and Shopify's payment processor calls it a pseudo drug cosmetic, and they shut down my payment processing every time I sneak it on the website, even trying not to put CBD in there or something so they don't pick it up. They find it. So the good news is I'm looking at other payment processors for that, because I am a big user of CBD oils and whatnot, and I use it in Wild West skincare. So I actually did a cleanser, toner, serum, eye cream, moisturizer that turned out wonderful. Steve, Santa Fe Fashion Week. Well, that's part of what I'm now trying to do through MailChimp, because they'll go out and get all those social media profiles for you and whatnot. So it's on the to-do list. I just haven't done that yet. But that's what I also thought would help is, why go look for people I don't know? Let's look for other people that I know what they're like, and then go find them. Oh God, I can't pick. You all just have to, yes. Miss Sonia? Okay. You're going to make me hashtag? Okay, all right. I can do that. Perfect, I agree. And that's what all my marketing friends like Joni Griffin and at 505 Sunny 505, whatever. I had a great meeting with her on that kind of stuff. Yes, sir. She managed to pay for some really good placements in goodie bags at 20 to 30 grand a pop. Yeah, no. So here's another thing I didn't tell you. Felicity Huffman's a client. William H. Macy's a client. Now I know Felicity's in a little trouble. I could send her some free incense and say, girl, light this and take a hot bath. Fran Drescher, if you remember the nanny, as a client. So yeah, I've looked at that, and I get invites all the time. Oh my God, you should be in our suite, whatever. Then you look at the cost. And give away a lot of free product. So I try to do that stuff, but I don't do it in the pay-to-play world, just because it does get so expensive, but it is also a good way to get publicity. What's your name, dear? I'm sorry? My organizer? Is that your name?
Yeah,
okay.
Just to piggyback on getting more publicity, I'm wondering if there's a way to create a little welcome to New Mexico pack when there's a new development.
Yeah, so I love that idea. So one of the things that I do similar to that, and I do a lot of, is there's a size of that sachet that's about this big, So it's a kind of a pain in the ass to do, but again, I have family for free labor. So I actually co-branded one with New Mexico Film for the film office up there. And then anybody know Ann Lerner? When Ann had the film office, I did those for her. And it says New Mexico smells like success. And then it has that in it. But yeah, I want to do more of those things because I think that's what helps. So the other day there was the guy in the store who's like, I need this. And my sister's like, the redwood sachet? Yes. And he was working on BIOS with Tom Hanks. So apparently they needed a redwood sachet for something instantly. And just that alone, people seeing it, we've had other people from that production come in. Anytime I work, I'm really excited, y'all. I have a job on Friday I can't tell you about. But it's for a really good show. And it's a really inappropriate situation that I'm in with a really hot guy. So anytime I work on set, even back when I did background, I would take stuff into the makeup artist and whatnot, and the poor wardrobe girls, because, yeah. So I love that kind of idea. Way in the back. Matt, oh, yay! I'm an urban farm. Freaking youngsters. Exactly. So you can't really see it on here, but the top of all my labels, it says organic, natural, wildcrafted. And wildcrafting, for those of you that don't know, our cedar is wildcrafted. So I don't own a whole lot full of cedar trees where I go and harvest the cedar. Luckily, I don't have to for quite a while, because when I bought the company, I got 2,200 pounds of cedar. So if you don't like the smell, don't come to my house. The garage is full. But wildcrafting means we actually go out into nature. And Joshua Pine had an agreement with the federal government to use their lands in Placitas. And what you do is you ethically harvest. So you go in and trim back the trees, and then let the needles dry, take them off the branches and whatnot. But it's actually good for the trees. So wildcrafting is just using what's already in nature, but making sure that you ethically harvest it, because I don't need the whole tree. We're not cutting down whole trees. The other agreement that I've got in place just in case is the YWCA has 70-some acres in T. Harris. So I've got an agreement with them that I can actually use out-of-work veterans to harvest cedar when I do need it. I just don't know when I'm going to run out of 2,200 pounds. Okay, I'm going to tell you all a secret. He brought it up. I have to say it. New Mexico cedar is juniper. I know. We don't call it juniper because guess why? Everybody thinks they're allergic to it. Let me tell you why they're not allergic to our cedar. So it's just like in the real world. There's males and females. The female trees make the berries, which make gin, which we all love. The male trees make the pollen, which drives us all crazy. So we don't harvest the male trees. We only harvest the female trees. That way there's no pollen in it. But yes, I've been looking at other things like the Isleta Pueblo historically has been known for tobacco. So one of the incense sticks I have up here that you can smell is a Isleta tobacco and cedar. But I've gone back and forth between, God, I'm so bored with cedar. If I have to do something else with cedar, I'm going to die, to, God, I'm so glad I just focused on cedar. It's going to keep me so grounded. So everything I do is something and cedar, but I've realized that the ADD in me won't let me just do cedar. So yeah, thank you. I like that. Yes, sir. Like Cedar and Tinder? Cedar and Tinder, like a little dating app mixed with some wood? Love that, because it allows me then to also focus and then grow that market, right? Like I bring you in, it's like a good drug dealer. I bring you in with the stuff made for the youngsters, and then I get you to like everything. Okay, love it. Yes, dear. Oh, good. I'm with myself today too, because I'm on my meds. So question is, have I thought about stepping up my marketing? Yes. Yeah, and right. No. So again, I want you to, that $177,000 that I've made so far literally has been given to me. I've done nothing to get that other than send out some emails, make sure the Facebook's updated and whatnot. So that's one of the reasons Eric, who couldn't be here the day I present and has been driving me crazy to present, one of the reasons I wanted to present was I finally felt like the whole process of going through the rebranding, redoing the labels, coming up with what I want it to look like so it's cohesive, because in the past it's never had a cohesive brand, has been about an 8-month-long process. And I finally feel like I'm happy with it. It's where I want it to be. Now let's go. So that, I think, is the next big thing. Oh my God, there's too many choices. I love your mug.
Go where the kids are. Have you gone to campus? My students love to look at all the stuff. Even if you give out tiny itty bitty free samples, it hooks them. I guarantee it'll hook them and give them food too.
Right, yeah, food. Liquor. Remember, I infused the whiskey now.
Well, you would have to try campus so you can bring them.
Trust me, I know. I know. No, I'm teasing. No, I'm totally teasing. I agree. Here's one of the issues I didn't bring up with you all too, which I did on purpose. So when I bought this company, they were still using the formulas from 1971. So a lot of the preservatives we used back then were the precursor to formaldehyde. So that had to go away. So when I completely redid how the products are made and made them organic, natural, wild crafted, I did a 20% price increase across the board. One person squawked. That was it. So I was like, okay, good. They're not, the current group I have is not limited financially. The biggest complaint I do get is like an 8-ounce lotion for me is $18. Not everybody's going to pay $18 for a lotion. So I think that's where it also comes into coming up with some other good products. Going around the couch. We're piggybacking.
Don't discount the fact that you've got aspirational products for the younger people.
Okay.
They buy less things, but they buy better quality things.
Right.
So it might seem like they don't have disposable income this year,
Well,
but next year they will.
right. And one of the things that actually works very well is the times we've done the farmers markets or other thingies like that where you have a booth, we sell about 1,000 a day. Because what I do is light the incense and then people come running. It's like moth to the flame. So we make a ton of money. That involves a lot of interaction with people that I don't want to talk to. So the good news is, the bad news. Bad news that I'm going to make good news. Bad news is my entire family moved back from Ohio. So my mom, dad, sister, niece all lived with me until some of them just moved out. I still have a father if anyone needs one. But my sister loves that stuff and my mom. So they will go do the booth stuff. So I think I want to get back into doing more of that, because the other thing I notice is when I do the booth stuff, people will be like, oh my God, I thought you were out of business. I'm so excited you're here. Okay, I need that. So I think I do need to get out there to raise the profile a little more on what I'm doing. And then there's always that one bitchy white lady at the end of the row. Your incense is so strong. Would you put that out? No. Well, I'm going to go complain. Good. And then the organizers come over. Margaret, there's a problem with your incense. I said, Margaret doesn't like Native American incense? You need to have a talk with Margaret. And then they don't bother me again. Oh my God. Yes, sir. Growth goals? Well, as I get older, I'm shrinking. So I didn't tell you this, but I've also, with my company Urban Fresh, reached the Inc. 500 list, which was over 1,000% growth in 3 years. So I would like that. If you noticed those empty shelves earlier, I'm not at a place in production where I can handle that, but I would like to plan on the private label work I do for Wild West Skincare is very labor intensive, and because they're all custom labels. So I'd like to replace that current income, which is about $500,000, with Clearlight. So if we could do a 3 to 5 times growth, and then I could just go audition and go do fun scenes on Friday for a CBS TV show. Oh, shit, no. I would I'd like to get it to about $500,000 a year. For income, yes. Revenue, or for expenses, no. Let's keep those low. Oh, totally. Yeah, I truly believe from the numbers that it's not an age-specific product group, which is what I like about it. I think by doing some different things, like we've launched bath bombs, and when the batch doesn't turn out really well and they crumble, I call them bath nuggets. Then you just put them in a bag and sell them. But that does tend to bring in a younger demographic, but then also build on the older. So I think you're right. I'm not trying to throw away my WEX generation. I'm just worried they're going to leave me before I get all their money. Well, they're getting good stuff back for it. I didn't make them buy it. Then we're going to the far back. No, you. Then we're going far back because Okay, so when you do these vendor booths, you're getting real-time information. So are you getting good feedback from these people? Totally, yeah. So, and that's the other reason that I think it's just more of getting the word out, which I've not spent any time doing. I feel, again, I think I can piggyback on, luckily our government has done a lot of really good research around New Mexico True and how they're bringing those people in that are looking for the skiing, snowing, hiking, whatnot. So I think one of my other ideas to do this is also to make my store more interactive. So offering classes on how to make bath bombs and soap and incense. And did I buy the URL, Bubbles and Bath Bombs? I think I did, yeah. So we'll probably do some like drink champagne and make bath bombs classes or something, because I want it to become more of a destination. Back during the big Breaking Bad days, I made a product called Bathing Bad, which is bath salts for your tub, but they look like blue meth. I got 2 cease and desist from Sony. They finally left me alone. But I used to do cooking classes where we showed people how to make the candy that they used in the show and it brought lots of people and it was very interactive. And if you notice, I kind of like to entertain, so it also puts me like there where I get to tell my funny stories and stuff. So I'm thinking I need to make it also something you do when you're in town or something you do when you're hanging out with your girlfriends or whatnot, and then make it more experiential. Way back with Lindsay. Do you reveal while you wicked? Okay, just checking. I knew the answer, but I had to ask. Right. Perfect. So New Mexico Grown is her suggestion. So I love those kind of things because if I can get an organization to market me as well. So I was one of the first products that New Mexico True certified. So they've been really good about putting me in their newsletters and whatnot, which has driven sales. So I think those kind of things help a bunch.
We'll take one more question.
One more. Oh my God. Who's the farthest back? All right. Her hand is still up. Yes, it's you, my dear. Okay, good. Really, it's like you have to buy him 5 30-packs of Bud Light a month, and I don't think he eats. Extreme sports, because you know those people are always into the New Mexico world. Love it. Perfect. So she says YouTubers and whatnot. God, I hate the YouTube. I try to date youngsters and they send me links. Watch this YouTube video. I'm gonna wander off. I'm just not gonna get through it. So I tried to give up 20-somethings.
Awesome. Okay, I still have
a couple. I have a couple questions. First of all, Tamara says hello. She's on the airplane on her way to Albuquerque.
Yes,
yes. Say hello.
Hello, Tamara. Yay. So she's one that's been like, go present, go present, go present. Then she moves to Ireland. So she's coming back today, but of course the flight doesn't get in until later. So there will be lots of champagne later. And probably I'll make her taste my cedar-infused whiskey.
All right. I'm sure she'll be excited about that. All right. So 2 questions we always ask are red or green?
Yeah, I was going to pick Christmas, but that buy thing doesn't make sense to me. So I'm going to go with red.
All right. Thank you very much. And seriously, what can we as a community do for you and your businesses, or, you know, what's the number one thing we can do to help you out?
So biggest thing for me is go visit clearlightnm.com. Look at what I'm making. Give me some feedback. Drop me an email. Keith@clearlightnm.com. I'd like to know what you think about it. I also would like to grow my web presence a little, so it'll give me an idea of, like, can you find the things you're looking for and whatnot? Because I also do my own web work.